Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, Tuesday, January 9th, 7 o'clock p.m. Meeting notices for Open Meetings Act is on the wall. Call the meeting to order and roll call.
Stuart Krejci.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Brian Diaz.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Chris Rathman.
Okay. Proclamations, none. Audience is an employee, so we'll pass on that. We'll go to department head report. City administrator.
Christina, do you have that?
Yep.
Okay. So in that packet, which I just put in at 5:30 this afternoon, is my report, but I'll just briefly run through this. You can follow along. I have continued to participate in conversations about EPIC, and with other, some of my colleagues, we have put together through Nebraska City Managers Association some information that I'll be sharing with you probably at the next council meeting. Just information about the impact that EPIC would have to the city of Wahoo, city of Wahoo, cities in general. We finished up our field work with the audits. I've been following up with them on some last pieces that they need. I, on December 13th, attended my last board meeting. I completed my second term of 3 years. So in total, I've been on the LARM board for over 12 years with in my time. So Wahoo is not eligible to be represented until there's another 3 years that expire. So if there's anyone that is interested, I probably will not take on another term. I have enjoyed it and learned a lot, definitely about insurance and the unique qualities that a pool can offer to the city. That same day, I attended a meeting with Terry Meyer, Jeff Ray, and Andrea Gebhardt. I have that spelled wrong. With JEO at the last council meeting or the first council meeting in December, we talked about working to apply for a downtown revitalization grant, and one of the pieces of that is building, getting public input and building public engagement on what we want it to look like, what do we want to see out of it. So I did have some conversations with them about some ideas, and I was very frank with them that we need to come up with something that is not overly expensive, and so we've tossed around some ideas about having community conversations where we have a sort of a guided conversation, and it's more of a conversation rather than come into an open house and look at pretty pictures and put stickers on the wall. It's so we're working through some of those ideas. I did, and Christina and I both participated. We helped organize a interview with engineers that responded to the RFQ for the airport's airport layout plan update, as well as engineering services for the next 5 years. So because there's federal dollars that the airport gets each year from the FAA allocated, they have to go through a formal RFQ process. The airport layout plan is something along the lines of a comprehensive plan, but it's more extensive and is in the realm of $250,000 to $300,000, which seems crazy. It's supposed to be a plan that's has a 20-year lifespan, and the last time it was completed was 2005, I believe, 2004, 2005. So, and then following that, the authority members there did their scoring and selected Olson Associates as the engineer for the airport layout plan, and then Kirk and Michael for the next 5 years of construction updates to runway or lighting or hangars, whatever those they would be the engineer of record. Projects, it's been not slow, but it's been a nice calm. It allows me to get some other things addressed on my desk. I would expect in the next at the next council meeting, we may be hearing a final presentation on our annexation study. We are working with Wilmer Ridge to get the last punch list items cleaned up, and we hope to be having the final pay application at the next meeting. Downtown stormwater study project, that's in the works. Field work on the TIF update is being, I think was completed last week. We have had 2 potential claims reported to me. The first involves an individual who fell at Family Dollar on the sidewalk under winter conditions, suffered a broken ankle. The second involved physical damage caused by a collision between a city-owned piece of equipment and a personal vehicle while on the road while we were making road repairs. I have not received a filing on either one of those claims, so they are currently potential claims, and when I have more information on them, I will present that to you for a decision.
I have a question. Why would somebody follows a sidewalk by Family Dollar, you said?
Bike trail.
Oh, the bike trail. Okay.
Yeah, the Maple Street Trail
I was
goes.
thinking it was in front of the building. So.
The sidewalk is, but we gotta maintain it.
We do have a policy in terms of the order that it is maintained, so.
Yeah, just like the safe routes to school trails maintained by the city, not the homeowners.
Sidetrack, does the city actually do the sidewalk in front of all those houses on Locust now as part of that safe routes to school?
As part of the Safe Routes to School trail, we do have an obligation to clean those areas. However, in our snow removal plan, we have the priority of that laid out, right? It is because of our resources, because of the other needs for those resources, it is the lowest priority. And so we encourage the homeowners to not necessarily wait until the city gets there. It is partly, their responsibility to address it.
We had it pretty well done. When I saw them zip down the sidewalk yesterday, I was like, we had it, but either way, why is the city doing my sidewalk? And then I put it together that that's part of the path for safe routes. So
Yes.
Don't all sidewalks get
So if any council member is not receiving the league legislative bulletin that comes out at the end of every week and you would like to, please just let me know. I'll get your email address on that. I know that you've probably heard the governor speaking about his commitment. Excuse me, he's 100% in a 40% reduction to property taxes. And last year, I believe schools were targeted. This year, cities, counties, NRDs are going to be the target. And so I guess I would encourage you, if you're interested, you're not obligated, but to take an active, be active in learning about what is coming before the legislature, and I'll try to share as much information as I can as well. But I think there will be something come out of it that will have an impact on our budget next year. So along those lines, also the League's Midwinter Conference is February 26th and 27th. If you want to attend, get it on your calendar. It's Monday and Tuesday. It is all day Monday and Tuesday morning. You can attend part of the day, the whole thing, only on Tuesday, only on Monday, but let Sally know when she can get you signed up. Individuals who are wanting to file for an elected position need to keep the dates in mind of February 15th and March 1, and comments have to file by February 15th. For City Council, there's a 1% filing fee that has to be paid at City Hall, which is $30. For airport authorities, there's no fee. Once you get your fee paid, then you go to the courthouse and file with the county clerk. And lastly, city staff and the mayor will be meeting with members of the Nebraska National Guard to discuss their community partnership program. I'm not sure what all this entails, but Wahoo was selected to be the first community in Nebraska to work with the National Guard as part of this program. So we're going to be meeting the beginning of February, and then I think they want to have some sort of official signing or kickoff kind of thing, and so watch for more information on that.
What kinds of things is that supposed to entail? Like, what is that about?
I think from the letter, it sounded like it maybe gets you more assistance with emergency management kind of things. It gets you access to military presence or guard presence at public events and such. So I don't know what all exactly it entails. I don't think I included that letter in the packet, but there will be more information coming on that. With that, I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda items for me? I'll just answer them all up here. We do have the amendment to personnel policy regarding holiday pay for paramedics, and then Ryan has requested some job description changes and pay scale changes for some utility positions.
Is the medics being mirrored to what we have for PD? Is that what that is?
No,
No. Sorry.
we have been handling it the same as the PD, but the PD is different because they rely, almost all of their staff is full-time. It's kind of switched with the EMS department, so the theory behind the way the police department is paid their holiday pay is that it's up to the supervisor. Everyone gets paid the same amount for holiday, whether they work it or they don't. It's up to the supervisor to make sure that everyone is working their fair share of holidays. With the EMS side of things, it hasn't worked out quite the way we were hoping on that regard, because we use a lot more part-time. And if you pull a part-timer in to work a holiday, they're going to expect holiday pay. And that police policy, the way that others is set up, is only for full-time individuals. So, which I can understand. If I was coming in as part-time capacity to work a holiday, I'd want to make it worth my while. So,
Any comments on the report first? Okay. Any questions on consent agenda?
I had a couple on the consent agenda for Ryan, and he explained it very well. I'll let you elaborate. Go ahead.
Sure. I guess if in regards to the pay scale changes, as we looked at some of our job descriptions, and we obviously take a wholesale approach every 4 or 5 years and look at all of them in comparability. But just a couple positions wanted to make sure that we were in line, and so I did do some small comparability to Nebraska City Utilities and some other finance or director positions hired in other communities, and looked at our office manager position, made some changes as we always want to try and be a few steps ahead when it comes to succession planning. Even though I've told her she can retire when I retire, I don't know that that's what's going to actually happen. Want to make sure we are competitive now and not waiting until the moment that we're in line where that position should be. And so making an adjustment there. We did add some things to the job description to bring it in line with what the position needs to be qualified to do. Some of them, it's adding maybe a 4-year degree. That doesn't mean that the person that's in the position will be required to meet those expectations, as they already meet other qualifications such as time and experience. So the other ones, we did actually create a new job description to better reflect a position of fleet management, meaning not just doing mechanic work at our power plant, but all of our equipment across the utilities departments, and then also looking at making sure our top level water operator position is in the right pay where it should be and comparable to the other communities, and ensuring the scale reflects the amount of responsibility similar to like a first class lineman, or what a lot of electrical companies or utilities call journeyman linemen. We look at that as someone who can make operational and safe decisions on switching orders and those things out in the system. So there's a lot of responsibility with that position, especially with safety. Same with the water side, where we expect that position to be able to, in the absence of the water and wastewater supervisor, we feel confident they can adequately operate both the water, wastewater collection system, distribution system in a manner that's safe for the public and maintains the regulations of Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy. So,
So with the pay scale, you know, changes and stuff like that, are we just kind of matching what the going rate is out there?
yes, that is
Or-
right. Yeah, we did, again, I didn't do a full depth, when we didn't hire a consultant to do like a comparability study like we did a few years ago. But I did do comparisons to other communities in that same job description. It's a unique one. There's not a lot of others that have it. The number one I always pull from is Nebraska City, because we both have an office manager position. We're still not exactly the same because we've added some other responsibilities such as purchasing agent to that position. But and again, our scale is actually lower than Nebraska City still. So, but it's higher, as you can see in the reflection of the scale, much higher than it is today.
And then the new job title, is that new head count, or is that some other job title that you were moving somebody in and just changing responsibilities?
Yes, so we have a person will move into that job title. So there's somebody that currently, I think their current job title doesn't reflect the work they're doing.
Okay.
And
So it's not that you're moving somebody into that and then rehiring that?
No,
It's
yeah,
not-
no,
it's-
we won't.
It's not an extra head count.
It's not an extra, but it's a new job title. We won't eliminate the previous one, but yeah, only one person would ever hold that title at one time. It's not a department head. I guess it's a little, I want to be that clear. It's not a department head position, but it reflects that second part of it, what they do, which is managing our fleet and our maintenance and equipment. And it's not a department head. It's not administrative. It is just we expect them to be able to do some of the records keeping, but be a mechanic.
It's a little more clerical emphasis.
Well, there's a little bit more of that, but
Yeah.
not very much. It's more reflecting they're not just working on the diesel engines at the power plant. They're also working on all the other equipment across Wahoo.
While we're on that subject, and
Yeah.
this probably isn't the time to discuss that, but just because we've mentioned it in these meetings in the past, are we still looking or have any interest still in looking at GPS for tracking on maintenance of vehicles and location of vehicles and that sort of stuff? I know we've kicked that around a time. or
Yeah,
two in
we
the
have
last
kicked
2 or
it
3 years,
around.
but-
We haven't done any looking into it any time recently. I on the utility side, we haven't really done anything with that. It's something that I think our GIS, would be capable of, or there's very cheap software solutions. I know.
Yeah, there's solutions out there that just
Yeah,
mount to the
absolutely.
vehicle that can give you, even on your bucket trucks and things like that, how often the PTO is engaged, and it gives you a lot more information
Yeah.
into the maintenance of the vehicles. And when it comes to a fleet manager, I was thinking that would really help with that job to make sure that the maintenance is done. And
Yeah.
frankly, I'm always thinking, knowing where our very expensive equipment is at all times is never a bad thing either, so.
Yeah, it's probably, it's something we should do. I should say is it's something we should definitely investigate more and understand the cost benefit, right, of it. How much does it cost? Some of the larger communities and utilities do it because, they have a lot of equipment, so their price per unit, but that technology is a lot cheaper than it used to be, so I'm
Price
probably
per unit, if you factor that into what you're paying a person who's in the vehicle,
Yeah.
I've never seen it not factor out for an ROI just in
Yeah.
fuel savings and the amount of time that somebody lets a vehicle idle for funsies
Yeah,
or
so if it's idle
maintenance
for too
costs.
long.
There's so many savings to be had by knowing when the engine's running and where the vehicles are that I would still like to see that on anything, not just utilities, but anything the city owns. If we
Yeah,
ever
that's
get to a
probably,
point that we can
it's
dig into
something that's
that.
worth investigating.
Any other questions, comments?
How is our staffing? Are we pretty well fully staffed? We got some openings?
Right, and so as part of the utilities budget, one thing we did include was an additional water department staff member, so that was kind of part of this water. Again, we will not bring someone in as a water operator one, that's viewed as you have to get the state certifications, and that takes at least 3 years to get to the right level in the water. Plus, we expect it to be a 4 or 5 year process to get to being qualified to operate our system. But we at least have this out there as this is what you can get to if you stick with us and work through the steps. So again, that having that top level position, we are bringing in an additional water staff this year, not right this minute. But right now, the only position we are not necessarily missing is we had made the decision last year to bring on a receptionist at City Hall. It's listed as a part-time position. It's still open. So if you know somebody that wants to apply to be a receptionist, but other than that, no, we're pretty fully staffed in the utilities. city, I guess I can't speak for the
On the
city.
city side, we did have one of our police officers, Officer Page. I took a job with the, I believe, Lincoln Police Department, so. I know we're one down, I feel like we're a second one down because of, Officer, am I remembering? We are looking for police officers.
Okay.
So, actually, I take that back, we are not, we're only one down, Officer Page, because there was a hire made shortly after Courtney Collins left.
Okay.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Rabbit.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sweet.
tweet.
Yes.
Getting used to, they're not in the right order on my screen anymore.
I'm literally looking at these.
One comment on department heads, because we went, I know Kevin's got his in here. Boy, the Civic Center is so busy. I mean, that thing, he's running it well. It's jam-packed with people, especially over the holiday season. So, wow, he's running some numbers through there.
Really needs to work on that extra gym.
Yeah. Yeah. We could use some more space.
Yeah.
Barely.
Roll call, oh, we did roll call, right?
Yeah.
You got all the roll call.
We're
Okay.
good, awesome.
Okay, action items not requiring public hearing. Approval of ordinance 2447 for the 24-25 utility rates. They're back up again.
Yes. Mayor Johnson and City Council, if you look at the ordinance in front of you, as you guys are aware, when we passed the utilities budget, I had alluded to the coming rate study or the completion of a rate study, that we had hired JKEC Consulting. It's John Krajewski, Energy Consulting. When we hired John, we looked in and he did a deep dive into all four of our utilities, and we had not raised rates since 2021. And so we wanted to make sure, other than the water, right? We had made some adjustments on the water. Yep, we did water rate utilities. And so we hired John and we did a deep dive into our utilities, and the completion of his study indicated the need for some, I would say, marginal rate increases across all four utilities. If you were able to see the reports that we got, the rate design reports, these would have been shared as part of our Board of Public Works policy, or Board of Public Works agenda packet that we had last month. The Board of Public Works looked it over. They took the information from John and he did a pretty good analysis at the November meeting and really kind of gave an overview. And then at the December meeting, we looked through these extensive, kind of a deeper dive into the rates. So as you remember from that initial meeting, he had indicated a need for a 4%, here I'll pull it up on the electric here while the sewer. He had recommended a overall 3% rate increase on the sanitary sewer. He had recommended a overall, 2% rate increase on our water, I want to make sure I get these numbers correct. I don't know. They were all broke down into one report, and then okay. And then he recommended in fiscal year 2024 a 3.1% in the winter and a 4.6% summer. Or sorry, I had that reversed. 3.1% rate increase in the summer rates and a 4.6 increase in the overall winter rates in 2024. And our natural gas, he recommended a, back up right here, I believe a 4% rate increase on the natural gas. So, sorry for the timing it took me to get those. what he did with the second report, though, he dove into how do we spread those rate increases, right? It's easy to say, well, we need a 3.6% rate increase on electric, but how do we spread that across our cost of service and the rate schedule, right? Because we don't charge everyone the same rate. We have different classes of rates for commercial, industrial, large general, wholesale, and obviously residential. And so what John did was take our data that we have through our Cassell, which is our billing software, but it also acts as our general ledger and it acts as our timekeeping. And so we're able to do a pretty good analysis based on the code in which all of our employees code their time. And so it tells us where we're spending our time, whether that's on the electric side, if we're spending time on primary overhead or service lines, or if we're spending time on rebuilding transformers, right? So that can all be broke into, should that be a fixed revenue we get in our cost of service from like our customer charges, or should some of our revenues be made up just on the energy side, the per kilowatt? And so John took a look at that. The other big driver of those electric rate increases was the anticipation for our wholesale rates to not increase. It's kind of a hard way to explain this. NPPD right now has been able to give us what's called a PCA, a credit, for how well they've been doing selling excess energy into the open market, into the Southwest Power Pool. NPPD is projecting by 2027 to not only not have a excess capacity, but to have a shortfall of 700 megawatts. To put in perspective how big that is, Wahoo uses about 16 megawatts. That's our peak day. So they're large amounts of power short, and that's mainly because of the growth in Nebraska. We've seen exponential load growth, mostly from our data centers, mostly from places like the big industry down by Hallam. Monolith, thank you. Yeah. So places like that are really expanding exponentially using energy. So as they look towards that, there's a projection that PCA is going to go away, because instead of having excess power to sell to the market, they're going to be a buyer of power from the market if they can't get enough resources built, which they won't be able to in 3 or 4 years.
Is some of that affected by the regulations that are being put forth out there by?
Oh, regulation absolutely impacts not so much the shortfall, but the regulation impacts the speed at which they can dispatch new energy, new resources. So for example, transmission alone, right? Even if you put a generator out in the middle of the field, you got to get that power here and there, right? Big transmission lines like the one that passes through Wahoo NPPDs or bigger ones. It has taken them since 2012. There's a project called the R project. It was originally going to cost about $300 million to build it. It was kind of in northeast Nebraska, started clear over by Gerald Gentleman Station and got you to northeast Nebraska. Mm-hmm. That project has been on hold because of regulation, and Fish and Wildlife got a stop to it because they didn't feel they had adequately accounted for migratory birds. And that project, because of delays, will now cost probably another $500 million more than it had cost if they would have done it when it was initially constructed. So projects like that, right, that instead of being done in a 3 or 4 or 5 year process, now we're on year 12 and we still haven't gotten approval to do it. They're hoping to and start construction in 25. But anyway, that's kind of a long answer to a short question, right, is regulation impacts the energy industry big time. So that's part of our need to make sure we're being proactive with our rates, that we're accounting for that, and we're making sure we're getting what we need to be getting for our demand charges, but while still maintaining our competitiveness as a utility. And in the cost of service and rate design study, and hopefully some of you guys had a chance to see this, if you look at us as it compares to our other peers on residential, Wahoo is still the cheapest. If you were to use in the summer 500 kilowatts of power, or 1,000, like that's probably what my family uses, 1,000 kilowatts, which is a lot of power in the summer, we're cheaper than LES, City of Beatrice, City of David City, NPPD, Seward, OPPD, Fremont, and Butler County Public Power. we're cheaper than Butler County Public Power by over $50 a month on 1,000 kilowatts in the summer. If you're using 2,500 kilowatts, which is a lot of power in the summer, the only one that beats us by $5 is LES. In the winter, LES and Fremont beat us by Fremont at 500 kilowatts, 95 cents. LES $2.95. 1,000, only one that beats us is LES, and in a 2,500, the only ones that beat us are LES and OPPD. So if you think about the size of Wahoo and the way we can spread kilowatts across, even with these rate increases, we're going to be one of the cheapest utilities for our residential customers in southeast Nebraska. So I think we're doing a tremendous job of making those investments we need to. I will say the number one driver of the rate increases across all 4 utilities, capital projects. I would say that's the number one. Right? I talked about the wholesale. We want to be prepared for that. Our capital projects we're doing. Right? We talked a lot about that in my budget. We are doing great things for investment. We also got to be set up well to pay them, and we're making marginal increases across all the utilities. With these rate increases, the average residential customer, it should be about $7 a month is what this impact should be to the average customer. So again, it's not a big impact, but $7 is still $7, right? We don't want to be, I don't want to seem like that's meaningless, but I think we're doing a good job of producing safe, affordable, and reliable utilities, and I think that affordability part is extremely important. But in order to make sure we're keeping up the other 2 parts, safe and reliable, we have to ensure that we are making the investments we need to be making. The one last thing I'll talk about, again, we can get into specific utilities if you'd like. On the water side, I was extremely happy to see we're talking about a 2% rate increase. Now, if you look at where we were a year ago, where I came to the board twice in a little less than a year, actually, a 32%, a 17% rate increase. And I said, we're going to be getting ready to make these payments or these loans. We're going to make these big investments. We need to be set up well. As we did the deep dive into the rate increases, I was obviously nervous and said, I'm really hoping that he doesn't come back to me and say, yep, I've looked at it. It seems like you need another 20% rate increase. I was very happy to see that being proactive the previous year, making those up, those rate increases has set us to a very marginal rate increase for the next 2 years. So, and I want to point that out too. When you pass this is a 2-year rate increase. So we will look at a 4% in both years. And then again, hopefully we'll look at 2026 and beyond after these 2 years.
This document correlates directly to the ordinance, so this
Yes.
is also legal.
Yes.
Page 3, when you get it to the title for water rates, I believe it is, it's the 3rd page of it. Stop right there. Your dates, you're showing 123
Yeah.
was passed,
Yes,
and then
thank you.
those dates need to be, and then same thing on page 6, there's
Yeah.
another one just like that,
Okay. We'll
where
make
the
those.
dates need to be fixed. So I was trying to figure out why we were going back in time with the rates, and then I realized it's probably just an error in the document.
It is an
that needs
error.
to be fixed.
Yep. Thank you for catching it.
Yeah, there's one there, and there's another one on page 6 that shows the same thing. There.
Comments?
One more thing I want to point out that's new to the rate study completely. If you want to scroll down to the sanitary sewer, or up, I don't know which way you got to go. There's something really new. Go down right there. High strength rates. Right now, so some of those terms, if you don't work in the water wastewater industry, you've never heard of BOD before, suspended solids, or so the average home, like that domestic wastewater, right, is usually about 250 milligrams per liter of BOD. So even all of our businesses in town, even the locker, right? I haven't tested Charlie's, but I'm sure it's not exceeding that BOD of 250. If Charlie were to come to us and say, we want to start killing 200 cattle a day, right, or whatever, I'm not in that industry, but if it was such an amount that his wastewater now would be stronger than your average wastewater, this allows us to have in our rates a structure that said, okay, that's fine, we're going to test it, and we're gonna bill you for those additional loadings. Meaning our plant will have to make more investment into our plant to be able to account for that. Again, this won't affect any current Wahoo Utilities customers, but by having it in our rate structure, if an industry is looking at Wahoo, it's very simple for me to say, this is what it would cost you. You know what I mean? So it kind of crosses something off the list for economic development reasons. So we're not going after any, we don't have any customers that I think this would impact, and we wouldn't intend on putting them on that rate structure. But if it arose, we could utilize this rates.
And Board of Public Works has studied this and has voted to move forward with it.
Yep, Board of Public Works recommended the City Council 5-0. Ryan, I don't know if you have anything from our board meeting that you'd want to.
No, that was very thorough. I would say that gentleman presenting the rate study, he did a very good job, very thorough. You can tell he was thorough.
Yeah.
So, no, I think we all felt very comfortable and with the fact that they were marginal increases. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of big increases in the last year, so it's nice to, really it was nice to see that water one came in very close, so.
Okay, motion to introduce the ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody willing to?
Do we waive the 3 readings? I'll move to waive the 3 readings.
And I will second that.
Okay. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3 readings.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on a second, this goes a little slower than we just listed it off. Don't move.
When are these rates set to go into effect? They backdate to 1/1?
They would go, no, they will go into effect February 1st. Yep.
3 weeks.
Okay, I'm ready.
Use a lot of utilities this month.
Power up.
Save them up.
I just put a car charger in the house, so I'm going to be in.
Well, I'll tell you,
Turn the water off.
the sewer's being counted right now, so your sewer's January, February, March, so if you wanna try and save some money throughout the year,
Well, tell the school
do
to
less
stop
laundry.
sending the kids back home.
that's no joke.
Send them to the Civic Center.
There we go.
I think my kid did.
The rate's going up, another reason why I'm moving to the cottage.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Their rates will go up someday
Yeah.
because of it, but,
She's ready.
I'm ready. I'm
yeah,
ready.
okay, roll call on the reading of the ordinance.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. Number 2, approval
Maybe call
of
worse
request
things.
for special
Picture.
designated liquor licenses submitted by Knights of Columbus for the following dates: February 9, 16, and 23, and March 1, 8, and 15 for their fish fries, I'm sure.
Are we able to put them all into one this time? For some reason, it seems out in my head
No.
that we always have to do it.
We have to do a
special
second one
for the
because they're only allowed 6, and the 7th date.
Yes,
somebody
there will
else
be
picked
more
that one
on
up.
the
There'll be
next
another
agenda.
one.
on the next one.
By someone else.
By
Because
someone
they're
else,
only
because they're
allowed
allowed 6
6.
special licenses for the year.
Yeah, there's never been a problem with this that I understand.
No, I think it
No.
works well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Any,
Give it a
any other questions?
Yeah, Rappel second.
That'll work out well.
Yeah.
Roll call on the special designation liquor license.
Warford?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Okay, number 3, resolution 2024-01 to approve plans and specifications for North Highlands Phase 2 and to authorize calling for bids for the street, storm sewer, water, and sanitary sewer.
So in your packet, there was the notice from the developer officially of their intent to proceed. There's also a opinion of probable cost. These plans were prepared by the developer's engineer and went through a review, and we worked with JEO to put together the final specifications and bid documents. We hope to have the bid opening, or it is scheduled for February 5th, I believe. That's what the plans say. top of my head. February 6th at 10 a.m. So we're hoping by our February 13th council meeting, we'll have a contract ready to award. So this is being funded exactly the same way that phase 1 was, where the city will hire the contractor to do the installation of the paving, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. The utilities have an agreement regarding the cost of materials and the cost of installation on the water, electric, and natural gas. So this would be another 35 lots. Is that right? 35?
I thought it was just
30?
It was just 30.
I don't remember. I think it's
I think it's 30.
30.
I thought it was closer to
30.
Yeah.
And with the final plat, there was the additional Highlands Park area dedicated to the city. So I know that we've talked about some of that planning happening already. Kevin is preparing to take over that piece of property. So if you have any questions?
Do you have any idea, rough guess of what our cost increase was that we're taking on from when the project started and was first estimated to today? Just obviously it's up because this all started before, right around COVID.
I don't know what that is.
Just
There's
curious. Obviously there was increases. I'm just curious.
right, which is why I specifically ask for the developer to send their
Yeah, I see what the numbers are. I just didn't
Right.
know what they were before.
well, and to send. We were kind of locked in based on the subdivision agreement that we adopted for the entire subdivision. When they're ready to move forward, our obligation to move forward will be the same as we had with phase 1. So,
It's better to be going now instead of 3 years down the road.
but this it also doesn't doesn't mean that the assessment won't. I'm guessing that the assessment
more for a
on
lot.
these lots will be more than they were on the other lots. So.
I mean,
So I wouldn't expect to not move forward. I'm just
It'll be a little
curious
bit
if
more
we
for
know
us
if
with the
we're
intersection.
stepping into the different.
There aren't any intersections in this.
Okay.
It's only the oversizing on Locust Street, so
Not even that much.
it will be a smaller amount.
I mean, what the concept is saying is that we're willing to help a developer get us some lots. And really the costs you see here, this is what the city puts in and gets paid back in the form of assessments.
Right, there is there is the cost of the oversizing of Locust Street from the, 29 to 31 or 27 to 31 feet. So we'll have that cost, but we had that with the
Yes.
phase 1 as well. So.
Yes.
Kind of along that same line, are they keeping up with I don't know how many houses have been built out there, 12, 15 maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
The payback, is that cash flowing kind of what we expected, or for them to
Yeah,
pay us back?
Right, our return on investment is a little slower, not than what we expected, but it be just by nature of property taxes, it's something, you have a house done in 2023, December of 2023, we're not going to see any revenue on that until May of 2025, so,
Right.
Yeah,
right? But
So-
they are meeting they wouldn't be getting the reimbursement if they were not meeting the requirements of the reimbursement agreement, so.
okay.
Is this motion to approve? Yep, that's one
I-
motion to approve.
I guess I will also
It's a
say
resolution.
if the bids come in significantly higher than what we're talking about here, we would have the opportunity to just, we would work with the developer and talk about what our options are. Because I don't think they're interested in paying, 1.5 million when they think it should be 1 million, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have that conversation when the bids come in.
You
You
get
have
a
a
motion, I'll
motion
second
and and a second, right?
it. What's their time frame? Do they get bids, they go, they wanna do something this summer?
I think they would like lots to be on the market
In the fall.
in the fall, late
Okay.
fall,
Okay.
early 2025.
Something like that, it's usually sooner than later.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Number 4, approval of reimbursement resolution 2024-02 to allow for the recovery of expenses associated with the purchase of the rescue engine as approved at our last meeting through the issuance of public safety bonds if needed.
So this is really a technicality. It's establishing for the public that you don't have to, but you may look at using some sort of bonding or borrowing to recover, to be able to fund this project.
Doesn't say we gotta use it, it just gives us the ability to.
Right.
Make that motion to approve the
I'll second.
Oh, yep.
resolution.
Motion and second, any discussion? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Number 5,
Can I-
amendment to the City of Wahoo personnel policy regarding holiday pay for paramedics.
I just want to make one comment on the North Highland subdivision. I know you have not physically seen all of the plans, all of that, but I want to assure you that they have gone through review by the utilities, review by city staff, review by our engineer, and so they are,
So we won't have,
we should not have any issues. So, on to this other item, the
Okay.
holiday pay. I think I explained that. If you have any other questions, I can try and I will address them.
Oh, you're just switching it to a straight time and a half for holiday shift?
Yes, and it's also important to note that if an employee gets bumped into overtime and works a holiday that is overtime hours, they're gonna get paid time and a half on time and a half. So it's important that from a supervisor standpoint that be managed.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion been seconded, made for that amendment. Any other questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Sweet.
yes.
Okay, item number 6, appointment of City Hall Facilities Committee. Maybe change our direction, not direction, but the process a little bit. We've had several closed sessions, and the main purpose there is if we're purchasing property or making offers and stuff like that. We haven't really got there. We got there on one property. The process did, but that was then moved over to the Library Foundation, so it was not a city purchase. So instead of getting updates through a closed session at the end of the meeting, thought maybe set up a committee that can get into depth on that. But if we do come up with a better plan or a different plan or heading in whatever direction we're gonna go, at that point, we'll come back to the council. That committee would come back to the council, or if there's a point in the time when we would be making an offer, you've probably been informed once that we're leaning in this direction. So we'll still go back to the closed session if we get to that point. So another comment, we hold those at the end of the meeting, which probably is, everybody's ready to go home by that time. But if we move to the front of the meeting, then we're holding back everybody else for the meeting. So we'll see where we go with that when the point gets here. But so looking at it, it's not going to be a totally new committee. Utilizing the 2 council members that are on Building and Grounds, which is Stuart and Carl on that committee. And the third person, not that Ryan, he's on there he'll be on there from the city council point of view, but also would work well to be the liaison if the project moves toward the Library Foundation again. So that would be the 3 council members to this committee. We'll add other people that have been involved, Melissa, Ryan, or Jovan as needed, Ryan Hurst has been involved. We've had a couple developers on it at different times, so, we'll see how that total committee, goes together, but for this purpose, it's the 3 from the council that would be on that committee. So,
Okay.
any questions or on that? We haven't moved on anything for a while over the holidays, and, so we'll see what, one of the projects, is, again, continuing to talk to the property owner that has the cars stored downtown. That's, maybe he's gonna be independent of this committee, but it might be part of it, to see if we can, but that's gonna involve city council and planning and zoning, if that, if Harry Falke moves forward and what he wants to do, so. Any questions? Okay, I don't have any other comments. Yesterday at the NRD board meeting, we had a lot of detail. It's getting closer to the roundabout and what's going to be required. Moving lines and a little bit who owns the lines and were they there before the dam, or things to figure out. But the city will be involved in that. I know you're already, you're probably in it too. Not yet.
Oh, I don't know. It's all Ryan's baby.
Okay.
He's utility.
We didn't get great feedback, let's just say, from the utility side, there's things to figure out.
Yeah, so. Anyway, I guess that's the only comment I have. Other than, any council members have anything they want to?
I was asked and reminded that our Camel Center, South Hall, is now without windows, open to the public, open to the elements, wondering to know what's going to happen next, and I didn't have an answer. So I don't know the time frame of that apartment building being closed.
Time frame is December 31st to be completed of this year.
Not 2 weeks ago, but in a year.
So I do know that obviously the property has changed hands. There's a clause in our redevelopment agreement that gives them 90 days to get started.
Okay.
He has has received a permit, and I know that he was anxious to get going on things in the fall, but because of a couple issues we had to work through in the title transfer, there's a little bit of holdup there, so.
Okay.
I am pretty confident
Things will move?
that things will move this spring, yes.
Good.
I had somebody approach me about streetlights that are out. Who do they contact about getting them repaired?
Just call City Hall and
Because she said she's called for 3 years about this one at 8th and Linden,
8th and
and she's been told they can't get replacements for it. So we got a dark intersection at 8th and Linden by the church there in the corner. And she's an older woman who walks in the neighborhood at night too. And she said that's a real unsafe intersection to be walking through. It's actually an unsafe intersection to be driving through when it's dark out. No lights for a half block either direction. So
for the vast majority of the public.
just call you.
I mean,
She's like, that's not me. Whoever answers the phone.
Sally takes those calls.
But I said I'd bring it up
Or-
to your attention. She said it's been ongoing for a while.
I assumed it would. I know that was a thing across the whole country that they had some problems with, but.
Yes,
We're very
purple
purple
lights
last
are
night.
being under warranty and are being addressed.
This is that old style light that's, doesn't put out much light. So I'm not a huge fan of the ones up and down Linden because they don't put much light out. I mean, that's something I hope we can maybe look forward in the future to upgrade into something that puts a little more lights out to make it a little safer down the road. Not all of them at once, but if we can do a couple a year, here and there, just so that way we're maybe showing we're making progress to improve lighting for safety of pedestrians and the citizens.
I think one point to keep in mind is that it's intended to be intersection lighting and not pedestrian lighting. So I know that people believe that it is pedestrian lighting, but per our subdivision regulations and the way that we have placed them, they're intended to be intersection lighting.
I know I've received a couple calls, but I think they've been handled, the alley lights, that we're not, if they go out in the alley, we're not maintaining those anymore. And,
I've had a couple calls now as well.
yeah, so, I don't know, somehow if there's a way of everybody on the block can select somebody to be the spokesman and they handle it themselves, what authorization we'd have to give them to use our poles.
They can't put their lights on our poles.
Well, that's what I'm
Now, I
asking.
will say, technology has changed drastically, right? Like, when those security lights were created years ago, there wasn't a lot of options for, most people didn't have electricity in their garages. There wasn't a lot of options now with LEDs, and heck, you can put lights on your garage that could light up half a Wahoo if you wanted to get them strong enough. So it was a decision the Board of Public Works made before I even had come on as general manager to move away from those rental lights. And as I guess I should come up to the thing. As a reminder, the reason they went away from them years ago, you'd have 4 or 5 neighbors that say, hey, let's all go in on a rental light, and the city will split up the bill between the 4 of us, and or so-and-so would just agree to pay for it for the neighborhood. And then, then 20, 30 years go by and everything change, and somebody'd say, why am I paying for this rental light? I don't even want it. Take it off. And then the other neighbors, anyway. So that's why I think the board moved away from rental lights, and as they fail, we just take them down. So, and again, we can't allow. We've had situations where if there's a separate pole, so if we have a power line that runs from our poles over to a pole between some properties, and only thing on that pole is a rental light, whosever property that is, we'll drop our power line and let them have the pole. But they'll have to feed it from their house electrical service. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Okay. And I did talk to the one specific one you had brought up to me. So.
Okay. Anything else?
How many of those lights are there? I guess I didn't know there's that many alley lights. More than we want.
I don't have a good number for how many there are. There's a lot of them out there still.
Okay. A lot is more than a dozen?
More than probably 50, 60, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That are still in operation, or do you?
Do we have lights at the street entrance to the alleys that are in cities?
I believe so. On the city.
Yeah, because that'd be technically an intersection. So I just wanted to make sure that those alleys are somewhat lit up as people are trying to turn in.
Yeah, I'd probably defer to Melissa how and where streetlights are placed is, from the utilities perspective, we'll bring power and take care of them, but where they're placed and stuff is more of kind of a city's decision.
Yeah, it's probably a question of whether we considered that an intersection at the time or not, right? The entrance to an alley.
Yeah, and the definition from 100 years ago and the definition today.
Well, I'm trying to think if I have one in my alley.
I'm the only one who has access to their garage on my street. From the street, everybody else is from the alley. So I've got all my neighbors turning down an alley to get to their garages.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people still access the alleys to get to their properties because of access to their garage.
Sure.
That's why it's a question of is it or is it not? I don't know.
Okay. Well, we haven't adjourned yet, but as far as disclosure, maybe some people know this, Arlene and I are moving within the city limits. Mayor can live wherever, so we're moving. We got the okay Monday to start putting stuff down there at the cottage. So we'll be moving in January, and if anybody wants to buy a house, call me.
Stuart, give me a good interest rate.
How many people you need to help load? Need us to show up. We'll have a meeting.
Yeah. A meeting.
Grab a box.
Just watch out for the quorum.
That's right. That's a very good
Now we have a lot more conflicts than golf. we're, we've got part of the crew coming in tomorrow night to move some stuff, so. But, anyway, motion to adjourn. Somebody-
Second.
They're doing something. Like, oh, you play with.
Ready?